Happy Thursday! So it's Thursday, March 26, 2020. So today's book is from William's book box, and it's The Headless Horseman. And I thought, something that might be a little spooky, but not too spooky for us. So our story is by Natalie Standiford, and it's illustrated by Donald Cook. So we've been reading a lot of stories that had the same illustrator and author. This has two different people, one with the pictures and one who did the story. So let's get reading. Let me get us adjusted here. How's that? Once there was a town called Sleepy Hollow. It was a drowsy little town in a pretty green valley. Life there was always peaceful and quiet. But at night, the town was too quiet. Then you might see something move in the shadows. Then you might hear something moan in the dark. Then you might believe Sleepy Hollow was haunted. So it definitely looks creepier at night than it did during the day over here. The people who lived there thought the whole valley was haunted. They told strange tales about ghosts and goblins and witches. The strangest tale of all was the story of the Headless Horseman. During the war, began the story, a bloody battle was fought in the valley. Swords clashed, cannons boomed. One soldier on horseback lost his head. His headless body was being buried in the church graveyard. The tombstone reads, "Rest in peace." But the poor soul buried there cannot rest. Now, on nights when the moon is full, he rises from the grave. He mounts his phantom horse and rides through the valley, looking for his head. So, beware the headless horseman. If he cannot find his head, he will gladly take yours. So, is this real or fantasy? Think about that for a minute and think what makes it fantasy. Okay, it's kind of like on Halloween, right? When you guys try to scare each other or tell each other spooky things, or sometimes some of you draw spooky pictures. No one believed in ghost stories more than the school teacher, Ichabod Crane. He was an odd-looking fella, tall and skinny, with dangling arms and floppy feet. When he walked down the street, he looked just like a scarecrow off his post. And take a look at the clothing, boys and girls. This tells you also, does this take place in the past or the present? Use your clues, your picture clues. Ichabod was poor, but he had a plan. He was going to marry Katrina Van Tassel. Her father was the richest squire in the valley. Ichabod wanted to be just like him. Brom Bones also wanted to marry Katrina. Brom was a friendly young man. He liked to play tricks and ride horses and have fun. All the young ladies liked him, especially Katrina. Ichabod did his best to win Katrina's heart. He read his favorite books to her. He sang his favorite songs to her. He told her all about himself. Look at what she's doing. Does she look very interested? Naturally, Brom Bones was jealous, so he played a trick on Ichabod. Late one night, Brom sneaked into the schoolhouse. He He turned the whole place topsy-turvy. When Ichabod arrived in the morning, he was horrified. Witches must have held a meeting there. He was afraid to teach that day. Because remember, he believes in ghosts, right? Then, one afternoon, an invitation came. The Van Tassels were having a party. Ichabod jumped for joy. He sent his pupils home and started getting ready. He put on his one and only suit. He combed his hair. He borrowed a broken-down horse and set out for Katrina's house. The sun was still shining as he rode along. It was harvest time in the valley. Everything was golden. Ichabod whistled a happy tune. So look again. Doesn't that look like a pretty area to be? Doesn't look that spooky. But when he rode into the woods, the light faded. Ichabod stopped whistling. He went over to the bridge and past the church. Then he saw the church graveyard, and it gave him the shivers. Ichabod's horse was very slow. It was already dark when Ichabod arrived at the party. Katrina's house was lit up like the moon. Somebody, thought Ichabod, all this will be mine. Then some other poor sap will be the school teacher, and I won't even invite him to my parties. Miss Wantuck was trying to read upside down, but when there's a lot of words, it's tough. Ichabod went inside. Katrina was dancing with Brom Bones. He tapped Brom on the shoulder. Ahem, he said. May I cut in, Brom? Brom stepped aside and let Ichabod dance with Katrina. By and by, Brom tapped Ichabod, but Ichabod would not step aside. Instead, he twirled Katrina away. Brom was angry. That doesn't seem too fair. Later that evening, Brom went outside. An old man was telling ghost stories, and there was Ichabod, believing every word. I saw the headless horseman just last night, said Brom. He raced me for a cup of punch. I would have won too, but as soon as I crossed the church bridge, the headless horseman vanished in a flash of fire. Ichabod's eyes grew wide. Brom smiled. Perhaps the headless horseman would ride that very night. So maybe he's telling stories to kind of get everybody's attention. The party was over. Ichabod was the last to leave. He was miserable. He had asked Katrina to marry him, but she had turned him down. It was midnight as he rode toward home. The woods had never seemed so dark. An owl hooted, whoo, whoo. A frog croaked, ribbit. A dog howled in the distance. Ow! I don't know about you boys and girls, but I would not want to be him right now, riding through the dark by myself. Clouds hid the moon. The woods were darker than ever. To cheer himself up, Ichabod began to whistle. Suddenly, someone whistled back. Ichabod looked around. In the shadows stood a huge, dark shape. There it is. Ichabod's horse stopped dead. Just then the moon came out from behind the clouds. The huge, dark shape began to look like a horse. On top of the horse sat a man. On top of the man's shoulders sat nothing. But there was a head under his arm. Ichabod screamed, "Ah, the headless horseman!" Even his horse, look at his horse's face. Ichabod remembered Brahm's story. If only he could cross the church bridge, then he would be safe. He kicked his horse. Go, go, urged Ichabod in a whisper. But the horse would not budge. I think the horse is too scared to move. He kicked his horse again. Finally, the old horse dashed forward. The headless horseman dashed forward too. Away they went in a race to the bridge, Ichabod riding for his life. Ichabod leaned forward. Faster, faster! The horse clattered over the bridge, with Ichabod clinging to his back. Look how fast the horse is going. You can see, look at the tail of his suit and the horse's tail. They're going so fast, the wind is holding them up. Was he safe? Ichabod glanced back. The headless horseman had stopped. Suddenly his horse reared up. That means lifted up. And with a chilling laugh, the headless horseman hurled his head across the bridge, right at Ichabod Crane. What do you think hurled means? Take a look at what his hand motion and the pumpkin flying. So if he hurled it, right, you might hurl a baseball to your buddy. So to throw. The next morning, Ichabod's horse was found nibbling grass at the edge of town. But where was Ichabod Crane? The people of Sleepy Hollow set to look out for him. They found his hat near the church bridge. They found a smashed pumpkin next to the hat. But Ichabod himself, they never found. I wonder where he could have gone. People could think of only one reason for Ichabod's disappearance. The headless horseman had carried him away. A farmer said he had seen a man who looked like Ichabod in another valley far away, but no one believed him. Everybody knew that Ichabod's ghost now haunted the old church bridge. When Brom Bones heard these stories, he would get a sneaky look on his face. If he knew what really happened, he wasn't telling. What do you think happened? I'm thinking good old Brom here had something to do with it. Do you think it was him who was dressed up and threw the pumpkin, and that maybe it scared Ichabod so bad he took off? That's what I'm thinking. Well, thank you, William. That was such a great book to read, and I haven't read The Headless Horseman in so long that I forgot parts, so what a great find. So that was William's. All right, so our activity for today. Now remember, boys and girls, these are suggestions. Okay, I know you're still working on the packet. Take your time. The packets they're not being graded, so I want you to relax about that. Okay, these activities are just some extra activities to keep us going. And what I'm going to do is send an invitation to you guys at some point today to get on. And so we can talk live on Friday. Okay, that's the day that I'm going to talk live with everybody and explain what's going from this point forward. All right, so 2 small activities for today. First one, I want all of you guys to sign into your Prodigy account. You all have your password and your username. You might not have your own iPad, and that's okay. You can still go into prodigy.com and log in with your own information. Miss Wantuck set up an activity, a math activity for you to do in there. You remember how during rounds we were doing activities? So she set something up for you, for everybody to do, okay? So try that, because I can get on my computer and I can look in and see who's working on it. So it's nice for me to see what areas Miss Wantuck might need to do some more practice in with you guys, even if it's a couple people here and a couple people on something else. So try that for me today. And here's your second activity. I thought, since we read The Headless Horseman, that I made 4 pumpkins here. And in the pumpkins, I have some numbers. So in this one, I have 563, 907, 1,450, and 2,651. What I'd like you to do, and you can type it right on your email or type it right in the Google Classroom if you're in. You can type your answers. What I'd like you to do, or write your answers, right? It's good to keep us writing. So if you want to write your answers and then send it, you can do that too. I want you to expand all 4 of these numbers. And remember, expanded form, stretch it out. Remember that? So expanded form is, I took 907, I did 1 for you, so you only have to do 3 others. So the 9 is in the hundreds house, so that would be 900 plus, there's nothing in the tens house, plus 0, plus what is in the ones house, 7, which equals 907. So you're going to do that for 563. I want you to do it for 1,450 and 2,651. Once you've done that, I want you to practice some addition. So for step 2, I said add the pumpkins. You make different combinations. So for example, Miss Wantuck took 1,450. She took this pumpkin plus this pumpkin. And what I would do now is I would add it up. We always start in the ones, okay? Regroup if you need to. So here I wouldn't need to. 0 plus 7 would be 7. So down here, I would write my 7. Then I'd go to my tens house. 5 plus 0. Do I need to regroup there? Nope. 5 plus 0 is 5. I'd write my 5. Now I go over to my hundreds house. I have a 4 and a 9. 9 plus 4, 13. Up. What do I need to do? I need to regroup, right? So I'm going to put my 3. I regroup my 1 over to this thousands. And now I'm ready to add in my thousands house. 1 plus 1 is 2. And then what do I need to put here? My comma. So my sum is 2,357. I'd like you to find 4 different problems you could do to add up. Okay? So you could add these 2. 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 All right? So add up 4 different combinations. So you'll have 4 expanded numbers for each of these, written like this. Then you're going to do 4 addition problems using the pumpkin numbers. Okay? All right, so let me go over that again. Step 1, you're going to try to sign on to Prodigy sometime today and see if you can do the math activities that Miss Wantuck left for you. Okay, that's 1. 2 is the pumpkin math. Okay, if you say, Miss Wantuck, that's so much though. What I'd like you to do then is to save 1 for today, and you can save 1 for tomorrow, but I really would like you to get into Prodigy so I can see how you're doing, because I can track you on that and see how everything's going with your math. Okay? And then once you finish the have-tos like we've been doing during math rounds, remember in M math round, it's been a Prodigy each week. So I'll be able to tell where you are, and once you finish that, you'll just go in your regular Prodigy if you choose to do so. Okay? So try those things. Let me know how you're doing. You can chat with each other in Google Classroom. If you can't get into Google Classroom, please tell your parents to email me, because I'm having Mr. Lynch, who's our computer guru, will call your parents and help you get into Google Classroom and your email. Okay? All right, my loves. Have a good day. I'll be near my computer at all times, so I can't wait to see your answers to these, and I can't wait to see how you're doing on Prodigy. Mwah. Love you all.